The human heart is not a symbol. It is a high-performance biological engine that works continuously without rest from before you are born until the very last moment of life. It does not shut down at night. It does not pause when you are tired. It automatically adjusts its performance every second, during sleep, stress, fear, physical effort, or complete calm. Every single day, the heart pumps thousands of liters of blood through the body. Over a lifetime, it contracts billions of times. And yet, this engine is only about the size of a clenched fist. What makes it extraordinary is not just its endurance, but its precision. If you like similar educational content, please like, subscribe, and share the video with your friends. The first crucial point is this: the heart is not just a muscle that squeezes. It is a perfectly timed hydraulic system. Pressure, flow direction, one-way valves, and exact sequencing all have to work together. If even one element loses synchronization, efficiency drops immediately, and the entire circulatory system begins to struggle. Think of the heart as a 4-chamber pump with a strict operating order. 2 upper chambers receive blood. 2 lower chambers generate force. This sequence must repeat flawlessly, over and over again, without conscious control. There is no room for randomness. At the same time, the heart operates 2 completely different circulation systems. One sends blood to the lungs, where it absorbs oxygen. This circuit works under relatively low pressure. The second sends blood to the entire body, brain, muscles, organs, and requires much higher pressure to reach even the smallest capillaries. These 2 systems must remain separate, yet perfectly synchronized. Here is a practical example. When you stand up and start walking, your muscles instantly demand more oxygen. The heart does not wait for instructions. Within seconds, it increases both heart rate and contraction strength. This happens automatically, driven by chemical signals in the blood and electrical activity inside the heart itself. Anatomically, the heart consists of the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. The atria act as receiving chambers, collecting blood and passing it onward at the right moment. The real power comes from the ventricles, especially the left ventricle, which must generate enough pressure to push blood throughout the entire body. Between these chambers are heart valves. They function like one-way doors. Blood is allowed to move forward, but never backward. The sound you associate with a heartbeat is not the muscle contracting. It is the closing of these valves, sealing pressure and preserving direction. Another critical fact: the heart is not directly controlled by the brain. It has its own electrical system capable of generating rhythm on its own. The brain can modify that rhythm, speed it up or slow it down, but it does not create it. This is why the heart keeps beating during sleep or unconsciousness. In engineering terms, the heart is an autonomous pump with an internal control system, constantly adapting output to demand. It does not respond to emotion. It responds to physics, pressure, and flow. A single heartbeat is not a single action. It is a carefully coordinated cycle that lasts about 1 second at rest. Within that short time, the heart must fill with blood, build pressure, eject blood in the correct direction, and reset itself for the next cycle. Every phase must occur in the right order. If the sequence breaks, circulation immediately becomes inefficient. At the start of the cycle, the heart is relaxed. Blood flows passively into the atria. Deoxygenated blood returns from the body into the right atrium, while oxygenated blood from the lungs enters the left atrium. At this moment, the ventricles are relaxed, and the valves between atria and ventricles are open. Blood moves downward simply because of pressure differences. No force is required. Next comes atrial contraction. This is not a powerful squeeze. It is a precise finishing push that delivers the final portion of blood into the ventricles. This step ensures the ventricles are filled as completely as possible. The more effectively the ventricles are filled, the more efficiently they can pump during the next phase. Then, the critical moment begins. The ventricles start to contract. As soon as pressure rises inside them, the valves between atria and ventricles snap shut. This prevents blood from flowing backward. The sound produced by these valves closing is the first heart sound. At this stage, all valves are briefly closed, and pressure inside the ventricles rises rapidly. Once ventricular pressure exceeds the pressure in the arteries, the outflow valves open. The right ventricle pushes blood toward the lungs. The left ventricle pushes blood into the aorta and onward to the rest of the body. This phase is where the heart does its real work. Here is a practical example. When blood pressure is measured on the arm, the upper value represents the maximum pressure generated by the left ventricle during contraction. This number reflects how strongly the heart is pumping blood into the body. After blood is ejected, the ventricles relax. Pressure inside them falls quickly. Blood in the arteries attempts to flow back, causing the outflow valves to close firmly. This creates the second heart sound. With the valves closed, the heart returns to its resting phase, ready to receive blood again. This entire sequence, filling, atrial contraction, ventricular contraction, ejection, relaxation, repeats tens of thousands of times every day, always in the same order. The heart cannot skip steps or improvise. It is also important to understand that the heart does not pump blood continuously. It pumps in pressure waves. Each contraction sends a pulse through the arteries. When you feel your pulse at the wrist or neck, you are not feeling blood flow. You are feeling the artery wall expand in response to this pressure wave. Another practical example appears during exercise. When you start running, the heart cycle does not lose any phases. Instead, the pauses between phases become shorter and contractions become stronger. This allows much more blood to be delivered to muscles in a shorter amount of time. The heart does not beat because the brain tells it to beat every second. The heart has its own electrical system, capable of generating rhythm completely on its own. The brain and nervous system only fine-tune this rhythm, speeding it up or slowing it down depending on the situation. This is why the heart keeps beating during sleep, unconsciousness, or even for a short time outside the body. Everything starts in a small region of the right atrium called the sinoatrial node. This structure acts as the heart's natural pacemaker. Cells in this area have a unique property. They spontaneously generate electrical impulses at regular intervals. Each impulse represents a command for the heart to contract. When an impulse is created, it spreads across both atria. This electrical wave causes the atria to contract and push blood into the ventricles. This step must happen first. If the ventricles were to contract at the same time as the atria, blood flow would become disorganized and inefficient. The impulse then reaches the atrioventricular node, where something extremely important happens. The signal is intentionally delayed for a brief moment. This delay allows the ventricles enough time to fill completely with blood before they contract. Without this pause, the heart would lose a significant portion of its pumping efficiency. After the delay, the impulse travels rapidly through specialized conduction pathways into the ventricles. The contraction that follows is not random. It begins at the bottom of the ventricles and moves upward. This direction ensures that blood is pushed toward the arteries, not back into the atria. A useful analogy is a stadium wave. If people stand up randomly, nothing meaningful happens. But if they stand in a precise sequence, a smooth wave moves through the crowd. The heart's electrical system works the same way. Coordination is more important than raw strength. What happens when this system breaks down? If the sinoatrial node fails, other parts of the heart can take over rhythm generation, but usually more slowly and less reliably. This can lead to fatigue, dizziness, or fainting. In such cases, an artificial pacemaker may be used to replace the missing electrical signals. Another problem occurs when electrical impulses become chaotic. This is known as an arrhythmia. The heart may beat too fast, too slowly, or without coordination. A common example is atrial fibrillation, where the atria no longer contract properly but instead quiver. Blood can stagnate, increasing the risk of clots and stroke. In the most severe cases, electrical activity in the ventricles becomes completely disorganized. The heart muscle is active, but it fails to pump blood at all. Without immediate intervention such as defibrillation, circulation stops, and vital organs lose oxygen within minutes. This shows that the electrical system of the heart is not a minor feature. It is the central timing and control mechanism that keeps blood moving in the correct direction, at the correct speed, and with the correct force. The true power of the heart lies not only in its ability to beat, but in its ability to adapt instantly. The heart does not operate at a fixed setting. It constantly adjusts its speed, strength, and output to match the body's needs, second by second, without conscious control. At rest, the heart works efficiently and conservatively. Contractions are slower and less forceful because the body's demand for oxygen is low. The moment you stand up, walk faster, or experience emotional stress, chemical and neural signals immediately tell the heart to increase its output. Heart rate rises. Contraction strength increases. More blood is delivered with every beat. During physical exercise, this adjustment becomes dramatic. The heart does not simply beat faster, it pumps more blood with each contraction. This combination allows total cardiac output to increase several times over resting levels. Muscles receive more oxygen, carbon dioxide is removed faster, and energy production can continue. Here is a practical comparison. Two people walk at the same pace. One is untrained, the other physically conditioned. The untrained person's heart must beat much faster to meet oxygen demand. The trained person's heart beats fewer times, but moves more blood per beat. This is not a stronger heart in a magical sense. It is a more efficient pump, adapted through repeated use. Stress and strong emotions trigger a different response. The sympathetic nervous system releases stress hormones that raise heart rate and blood pressure, preparing the body for action. This is why fear or anxiety can cause the sensation of a pounding heart. It is not a malfunction, it is a survival mechanism. In contrast, calm states and deep sleep activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, and the body enters recovery mode. This balance between activation and recovery is essential. Without it, the heart would wear itself out. Problems arise when adaptation reaches its limit. If the heart cannot pump enough blood to meet the body's needs, heart failure develops. This does not mean the heart stops beating. It means the pump is no longer strong or efficient enough. Blood begins to accumulate where it should not, leading to shortness of breath, fatigue, and swelling. Even more dangerous are severe rhythm disturbances. If electrical coordination is lost, the heart may continue producing electrical signals, but fail to generate effective blood flow. In extreme cases, circulation stops completely. Without rapid medical intervention, organs, especially the brain, cannot survive. This reveals the core truth about the heart. It is not a single mechanism, but a system of systems, muscle, valves, electricity, and neural regulation working as one. When one part fails, the others attempt to compensate. When compensation is no longer possible, collapse follows. At its core, the heart is a biological machine that combines physics, electricity, chemistry, and fluid dynamics into one continuous process. It does not rest. It does not reset. It simply works every moment of life. And that is why the heart remains one of the most precise and reliable systems nature has ever built.